The Red Raiders look to start Big 12 play 2-0 with a win over Cincinnati, but it won't be easy as the Bearcats are set to invade after a big-time win over Houston last weekend. In today's video, we'll talk about the 3 keys to the game for your Red Raiders to end up 2-0 in conference play and 4-1 on the season, heading out to Arizona. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and join the Back to 12 squad today. We have seen historic type numbers here on the channel since football season has started. So if you want to join the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube, just follow these 3 simple steps, like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. And I think I forgot to mention it. We're a little interactive here. Let me know your thoughts down in the pinned comment below in terms of what is the biggest key for Texas Tech to beat Cincinnati. And I got to get it out there. I always say it in these Key to the Games videos. Do not say score more points. Let's bring some critical analysis here to the comments, all right? Let me know your biggest key for the Red Raiders to beat Cincinnati down below. All right, let's jump into number 1 because this is interesting. And truth be told, I did not realize Cincinnati was this good in this department until doing a little bit more research on the Bearcats. But Cincinnati is actually one of 7 FBS teams, that has yet to allow a rushing touchdown this season. Texas Tech has 5 rushing scores in the red zone this season and has scored a touchdown on 13 of 21 red zone opportunities. Now, why did I bring up the red zone there? Cincinnati actually ranks 14th nationally in red zone defense, just allowing 2 touchdowns on 9 red zone trips so far for their opponents this year. Now, you could look at their schedule and say, well, yeah, of course, they've played Townsend, they've played Houston, they've played, a couple of other lesser opponents. It doesn't matter. Those are really good numbers when it comes down to it. And this is going to be one of the biggest determining factors for both of these teams, right? If Cincinnati continues to play like this in the red zone, their chances of winning this football game, albeit in a hostile environment out in Lubbock, Texas, drastically increase. But if Texas Tech can go in there and be similar to the red zone offense that you've seen this year, again, 13 of 21 in red zone attempts, is that fantastic? No, but it's much better than what Cincinnati is allowing. If they can be closer to their average in the red zone Texas Tech can than the average Cincinnati allows in terms of touchdowns to red zone opportunities, the Red Raiders' chances of winning this one go increasingly higher. That is something I am definitely watching out for. And again, one of 7 FBS teams that has not allowed a rushing touchdown. I would think that that has a good chance of changing on Saturday night with Taj Brooks in the equation. Now, for key number 2, I've talked about it in the preview video, and if you haven't watched that already, it's the previous video here on the channel for this matchup. Texas Tech has struggled defensively. Shocker. If you've watched a game, I don't think I'm breaking any news to you. I think that's Captain Obvious type material, right? They are allowing the 20th worst in terms of points per game at 32.8 in the FBS this season. Now, the other issue for Texas Tech coming into this game is they have played 4 games and have 1 less sack as a team as they have played games, i.e. 3 sacks as an entire unit. They've been okay, and that's probably being a little too generous in terms of impacting the quarterback, right? In terms of getting theirs from a hurried perspective, pressure perspective. But Texas Tech also has 20 tackles for loss this season, about 5 per game if you do the quick math there, but that's tied for 90th nationally. Why am I bringing this up in terms of the keys to the game? The Texas Tech interior defensive line has to get pressure on Sorsby. He is one of those guys that does not make mistakes. He just flat out doesn't, right, in terms of through the air. And we're going to talk about another way Texas Tech can impact him here in just a second. But he's a guy where you have to make him uncomfortable because if you allow him to stay in the pocket and have a clean window to throw through, it's going to be a long day, okay? The Denton native, he's coming back to Texas. You know he wants to ball out. But Sorsby is a guy that has 8 touchdowns on the year, 0 interceptions, and really so far this year hasn't had a ton of pressure on him. Now, granted, the pass rushes haven't been too great outside of really the Pittsburgh game, but he hasn't thrown a pick this season, okay? The easiest way to get a pick in terms of, I say easy, obviously it's very difficult to get one if you're a defense, is to have pressure in his face. And I mean that from the Quincy Ledets of the world, the Duda Banks of the world, the interior linemen for the Red Raiders. They don't necessarily have to get him on the ground. They just have to make sure that those passing windows and their arms are up to make things difficult on him in terms of seeing where his wide receivers are downfield. Now, getting him on the ground would obviously be a huge benefit for Texas Tech, but it's something that they have struggled with this year. They should have Charles Esther, the third back. They should have Harvey Dyson, the third, as well as Amir Washington. So this is probably the healthiest you are, well, going to be, at least at this point in the season, at the outside linebacker / edge spot for the Red Raiders, right? So this is a game where you have to go in and make an impact on that defensive line if you are a part of that group, specifically in the middle. That will also allow for guys on the edge to potentially get home and even wreak havoc more so on that front. All right, final key to the game, in my opinion. We talked about how he hasn't thrown a pick. It's the turnover battle. And I know that that's probably an elementary key to the game, but I found it super interesting looking at Cincinnati in this sense. They have no picks on the year. Okay, Sorsby's been good, but they have 5 lost fumbles, which is super interesting because, again, no picks through the air, 5 fumbles for loss there, okay? But they've had 8 total fumbles when you look at it. Interesting. They've lost 5 of them. But no surprise, Texas Tech is 3-0 when they win the turnover battle. The only game that they've lost the turnover battle this year, well, it was Washington State. So there you go. If Texas Tech can create 2+ turnovers and go back to key number 2 here and make things difficult for Sorsby through the air and really force it to where you have to run the football. Granted, Cincinnati has a good run game, right? But just force them to be one-dimensional. I think Texas Tech has a really good chance. And you think about what they did last week, the Red Raiders, against Sam Levitt, a guy that we talked about extensively here on this channel leading up to the Arizona State game. If you kept him in the pocket, you had a great chance of winning that game. What did the Red Raiders do? They contained him to 9 rushing attempts for 25 yards, and that was a big reason why they won the game. If you can get pressure on Sorsby and get him out of the pocket, I think that that's where the turnovers come because he is more of a pocket passer. Doesn't mean he can't move, but he's more of a guy that sits there and really navigates and goes through his reads. If you can get him out of the pocket, you will create turnovers, in my opinion, whether that's through the air, maybe his first pick of the year, or through the fumble category of things where they have actually struggled, the Bearcats. As I mentioned, 5 forced fumbles, or 5 fumbles lost, I should say, this year so far. And if the Red Raiders win the turnover battle so far this year, that has been a good indication of a W or a loss for the Red Raiders, as they are 3-0 so far in games they have won the turnover battle. All right, that's going to do it for keys to the game for Texas Tech Cincinnati. We will be doing a live stream here on the channel for that game. I hope that y'all come hang out. And while you're down close to the comments, because I know y'all are interacting with the video, give me what your biggest key for Texas Tech and Cincinnati is. What do the Red Raiders have to do to beat Cincinnati, right? And if you haven't already and you want to join those live watch parties where we have hundreds, if not thousands, I mean, really so far this season on 3 watch parties total, we've had about 10,000 per each watch party. So if you want to come hang out with hundreds of Red Raiders at a time, up to all the way to 1,000 Red Raiders at a time, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell to join the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube. And the best part about it, it's 100% free right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.